live Wednesday, live audience show on Wednesday. Welcome to the show. I am Mariah Afolabi Brown. As always, I never do this alone. I have my lovely co-host. Hi, ladies.
Good morning.
Hi, Jimmy.
Excellent morning, everybody.
I like the fact that you're all orange all the way.
I take some time out and I put in some effort into my dressing.
Matching everything
to be on
from
the
hair
show,
clip
actually.
to earrings.
You saw how I came in, right?
Goodness, yeah.
Shorts,
Yeah,
flip-flop,
right.
t-shirt, that's me. But to be on the show, you know, we aim to please.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I saw a few of the celebrations, the June 12 celebrations. I saw the one at the MKO Abiola Gardens, right opposite the Gani Fawemi Gardens in Ojota. Then I also saw the one at the Abiola Crescent off Touring Street. They actually blocked some segments of the road and they had a talk yesterday. I was just feeling really proud. I don't know.
And there was a
it's
walk
just
in,
this
there
feeling.
was a walk in Ogun State. It was really interesting.
So yeah, I felt a bit, I didn't want to talk about it, but then since you brought it up, that the MKO Abiola is an icon for our democracy and is a symbol of, he stood as a symbol of hope, lost his life to the country. However, we're making June 12 entirely about him, which it is to an extent, but I feel that we should promote more of the unifying force. And everywhere I just see posters and all that, which is why some people will think, I don't blame them. I mean, I don't agree with them, but they will not think like, this is June 12, it's Democracy Day for everybody, not one person.
History was taken out of our curriculum. It's important that people know and understand why June 12 is, what happened, and who was the principal party in that. So yes, maybe from
you
next
know, like
year,
the man said,
or
on some heroes, everybody should be alive. Maybe they should have a picture of him with like the band of like a blank face of other people that stood and lost
It's
their
important
lives.
right now that we have him to be people, because young people don't know, they're clueless in the schools. They didn't teach history. It's just that now they're returning it.
16-year-olds,
going
you don't even
forward,
know who he is.
It's going to be just about democracy. For now, it's key that people, because in school, social studies, they're not talking about MK Abiola. People are asking, who is this person? They never knew who he was.
that in school.
And my kid was coming back the other day. My child was asking me, Mommy, who's the MK Abiola? And I'm wondering, really? So they're talking about it. I mean, that's a good thing, right?
It's a good thing. Congratulations, everybody.
I'll be speaking to young people today at Ejide Secondary School.
Fantastic.
Mariah.
So, let me move on to
we're talking about using creativity to curb corruption, and I know that they're expecting me to use entertainment as a way, and I'm totally going to debunk that. We need to push more intellectual growth as opposed to entertainment as a way to curb corruption.
Very important.
Hello. Right. How you doing, Obiajilu?
I'm doing amazing.
She's wearing a cape, a studded cape.
Yeah,
really nice.
Thank you so much.
Remember, she's a rapper. So rappers do these kind of things.
Some bars.
Yes, I dropped some bars. I was
What does that
recording on Monday.
Like rapping things.
I'm working on my
Some
EP.
bars.
Yes, rapping now. When you rap, those lines are called bars. Actually, Mariah, come on.
No, educate us. Some of us don't know. I mean, do you know? Yeah. Drop some bars.
So I've been busy.
Okay.
I've been busy working. I'm trying to, put out some new work out there. So hopefully it's going to be ready. Then on Friday last week was my husband's birthday. I cooked up a storm. You know me. You just know me now. From barbecue, fish, to ugba, to abacha, granite soup. You know the kind of things I can do.
You alone.
Me alone. So it was just a family get together. Nothing.
Me, on the contrary,
nothing special.
me, I was silly. I went to ordered a nice seafood okra stew from somebody who sells. I was really excited. I brought it home and I was really like, it had prawns and fish and everything. My husband looked at the food, was really attractive, and I said, why would you order food from outside? I don't understand. So you want me to eat somebody else's food?
Chineke, my goodness.
I mean, I was excited thinking that, let's go eat. Like, and I'm wondering, and I'm thinking, why do people read meanings into everything?
No, but we're different people. Like, for me, it would have been so cool. My husband makes my day by bringing food. Do you understand? But like,
he couldn't understand eating. Like, please, he went to go and drink garri.
That's an issue.
I was really upset because I was really enjoying the okra soup. I was like,
it's an issue for the
week. You learned your lesson. You ordered snails the other day. Have you gotten your refund?
Yes, I have got my refund.
Thank God.
Lady got back my money.
Thank God.
All right, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll go through the front pages of the newspaper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You guys like to gist too much in this our audience. We are back already. We're going to start with the Punch. June 12 is all over the papers. Stop showing loyalty to Abacha. Soyinka tells Buhari. President confers GCFR on Abiola, GCON on Gani and Kingibe. Apologizes for annulment of June 12, 1993 election. Obasanjo IBB conveniently absent. Nadeco seeks true federalism. I was going to put the convenient there, please. Foundation will assume.
You can see the headlines.
8 died, 2 injured in Ogun auto crash. FG appoints transaction advisors for Afam Power and Yola Disco. Eagles train in Russia. Yeah, they train. 2 billion naira fraud. Ex-governor Daria jail for 14 years.
Very.
National carrier to begin operation in December. And FBI arrests 29 Nigerians, others for fraud.
Please.
Okay.
The human interest is a major headline for me in Tori alone.
Okay, which of them?
At the investiture of MKO Abiola yesterday, after our president, I'm dramatize again, apologized on behalf of the federal government for annulling the freest and fairest elections. He mentioned that truly MKO Abiola won the elections. It was now time for our learned professor, Wole Soyinka, to, take the podium. And then he went, well, I do accept your apology on behalf of Nigerians, but you cannot eulogize, okay, that's my own word. You cannot praise Abacha in one breath and then be giving honor to MKO in the other breath.
Wow.
Mr. President, stop confusing us.
And also, in addition to that, I think, was it Femi Falana that said that everybody's asking them to do investigation, to find out, not investigation, to release the results for INEC, for 1993 results. And he's saying we don't need it, actually. The president has already declared MKO the winner, so we don't really need any additional...
Additions, because I might not go back to the story, was the fact that Wole Soyinka made it known to the president in his presence that people are dying, and something should be done about it. As much as we want to divert attention to the celebration of what democracy is, it is about securing the lives of the people that are voting. And so we want them to be alive to vote the next election.
Another person at that event said that our president's worst enemies are those closest to him, those in the circle. There's worst enemies that he needs to listen to.
I was worried that the former presidents were not in attendance.
IBB
yes.
We know of IBB now. He's
Yeah,
still
that he was in, yes,
recovering.
but Obasanjo.
He was out of the country.
Dogara,
That's the word for
Saraki,
me.
those ones are having a feud. Well, in my own...
So we have a
that's my
story
opinion,
here
sha.
Moving on to the nation. Oh, we'll take it somewhere else. This story is elsewhere. Buhari on June 12th, President honors Abiola Kingibe Fayemi. 1.16 billion naira fraud. Court jails former governor Daria 16 years. Actually, it's 14 years across all those other papers. U.S. North Korea signed historic pact. NCAA national carrier December takeoff is okay. And 7 die in Lagos Ibadan road crash. Okay, let's talk about
the
road crash.
No.
Which one?
The governor Daria.
Daria.
Yes, he was given 14 years, and he was found guilty on 15 of the 23 count charge that was levied against him by the EFCC. Now, the court said that he converted the ecological fund that was given to him by the government for his personal use. And I'm glad that this is happening right now. We've seen, I think about last 2 weeks, we had governor
having convictions.
Round of applause.
Right now. Is this same Justice Banjoko? They should be fair.
Justice Adelabu Banjoko, another round of applause.
So, this person is this justice is very good.
FCC, another round of applause.
Doing well.
Okay.
Justice Banjoko, may I just quickly mention, Justice Banjoko, since we are convicting people 10 months to elections, please help us convict all of them. We are still looking.
All right,
gradually.
Moving on to Vanguard. Annulment, at last, FG apologizes to MK Abiola's family and others. Firms, households, individuals lose billions as traffic worsens in Apapa environment. Convention, Tinubu Akonde APC governors endorse Oshomole's candidacy. Ex-governor Darie gets 14 years jail term. Trump to end Korea War Games after historic summit. And then let's move on. Any other story there?
I feel really sad for businesses in Apapa zone because it's beyond their control, but a lot of them had to close down entirely because that place is being fixed. I feel that to avoid suicide, anybody whose business is being affected, they should seek professional help, because some of them will be counting losses and thinking, would I ever recover from this? Seek professional help and believe that things will get better.
Let's move on to Daily Sun. Buhari begs Abiola's family over June 12. So sorry. Diversion of 1.6 billion ex-Plateau Governor Daria backs 14 years jail term. We talked about that already. Benue lost 400 billion naira to herdsmen's attack, says Autumn. Real story of June 12 will be told someday, says Kalu. And Father Mbaka disowns prayer chain circulating on social media. I read that story. He said that there's a social media story saying that if you share this, you have good luck. Share it to 20 people, you have good luck. If you don't, you have bad luck. He's like, why would he ever start that kind of chain? That
the Reverend Father.
It's not from him at all. That we should please disregard.
I think he should even he should educate Nigerians to disregard prayer chains generally. Yes. Regardless of wherever it's coming from. Whenever anybody sends you a message and says that you must share it to 10 people to be blessed,
or something else
ignore it. You are blessed already.
Yeah, simple.
Meanwhile, Father Mbaka, I've been looking for you, sir.
What happened?
Father, you're not telling us about the next elections. What's happening, sir?
Father Mbaka. He usually announces it towards around that.
About January,
Let's wait for Father Mbaka. We've got to speak to him. Not yet, please. New Telegraph. Tinubu, 14 other governors endorse Oshomole as APC chairman.
Politicking.
June 12 annulments. We're sorry, Buhari tells Abiola family. Ex-Governor Daria jailed 14 years. Same story. We've had all the stories. Moving on to Nigerian Tribune. Buhari apologizes over June 12 annulment. 7 new arrivals from Spain. Driver died in auto crash in Lagos-Ibadan highway. U.S. arrests 29 Nigerians, 44 others in global email scam crackdown. Singapore summit. World leaders react to Trump and Kim's meeting. And Daria gets 14 years. So
let me just
I have the
let's take the human
8
interest.
persons.
Yes.
Okay, that died on their way to. They actually the victims just came back from Spain and they had an engagement in Edo State. So on their way at the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, their Jeep rammed into a truck. And 7 of them died on the spot, and 3 of them taken to the
how you're trying to overtake. It's a 2-lane road. You're trying to overtake. So unfortunately, he tried to overtake, but didn't realize there was an oncoming traffic and it smashed right into him.
So sorry for the
the driver he said it was crushed beyond recognition.
Hi.
It was really that bad. Really, really sad story. Poor guys.
The story of really, this is sad. The story, the story of the U.S. president and Kim Jong-un meeting and the pact signed is a big deal. We might not see the effects directly, but we can learn lessons from it. One of the things that President Trump has had for him is people say that he has backbone. He says what he wants, he makes threats, he says what he needs, he puts the interest of his country forward, and finally we might get something done. So can we as Nigerians also encourage our president to say what he wants the way he wants to say it.
To develop a backbone.
I don't understand.
I don't understand what you're saying either. Anyway, let us
get something done.
I was going to say something about this highway, this accident. Okay. Because Minister Fashola has been trying to work on the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. We need multiple lanes. We can't have, because I've traveled, there's a part where there are multiple lanes, but there's a part where it becomes narrow. It's 2 lanes. And you can't have a highway that has 2 lanes. It doesn't make any sense.
And bad roads.
You have to keep. It's not really that. It's not about bad.
2 lanes and bad road.
Well, the one I have passed, it's not like it's bad. It's just that it's 2 lanes. So while there's a truck in front of you, you will need to overtake the truck. Unfortunately, if you don't have a clear view of what's coming, the upcoming traffic, you can crash into it.
Clear view.
So we really need multiple lanes. Moving on to The Guardian, our final paper, which we can't take, unfortunately, but we can just read very quickly. President Buhari apologizes to Abiola's families. That's all that is in the papers today. That's all we can take on the pages of the newspaper. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll discuss with our client, Lipton, our guest actually, Lipton. Stay with us, we're back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're talking education. The quality of education in any country is one of the major keys to national development. The decline in the quality and standard of education in Nigeria is alarming, ranging from foundation, which is the primary level, to the tertiary institutions. Now, the question is our education today functional, and what can we do to better our education? Joining us on the show is an African strategist education expert and the CEO EnviroFly Consulting UK, Dr. Akanimo. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So, the truth is that we know the issues we have concerning education. I mean, but I don't want to jump into solutions yet, but as a professional, what have you identified as the issues concerning education in Nigeria today?
So maybe to answer that, I'll paint you a picture. So Nigeria's got the highest, well, third highest producer of movies in the world after Hollywood and Bollywood. Right. And yet less than 5 universities offer a top-notch master's degree in filmmaking, maybe even not in animation. Now, Nigeria's got security issues. Less than 5 universities offer a top-notch master's in security management. Okay. Now, Nigeria's got the largest telecoms industry, probably in Africa. Less than 5 universities offer a master's degree in telecoms management. Wow. Okay. Now, Nigeria's got, I mean, if you go to different universities, in Nigeria we have over 180 universities, okay? Now, if you go to these universities, they offer courses like zoology, botany, microbiology, but most of the graduates don't actually go into the programs, okay? Now, if you now take a different level, there's a massive diversion towards agriculture and sustainability in the environment. Right. And every university you go to in Nigeria has a department of environment, a department of agriculture. But less than maybe 10% of graduates from these departments actually go into those areas. Right. So I think for me, it's almost like a picture of what actually our education is the fact that the courses or the things we need, we don't have.
Yeah, so
the things we have,
we don't need.
But
you have said it all.
But to make it even more interesting, okay, in agriculture and environment, things we have and actually need, we don't use.
Oh.
So it makes it even more complicated.
Right. Please, as you've outlined everything, obviously now we're outsourcing the best, the highest paying jobs to qualified personnel that we can never produce locally.
Yes.
So we keep bringing in expatriates, and no matter as many as we are in the country, we cannot rise to the level above our education. Where do we start fixing this?
I'll tell you what, to be honest, I say there's a massive connection between high education or education quality and also employability. Okay. Now, doesn't it surprise you that Nigeria has been producing oil and gas for the last 40 years or more? Okay. He said, but actually, data shows that over 60%, now watch this, of our PG students, postgraduate students, study from Scotland. That doesn't make any sense. So students absorbed into the oil and gas industry don't even study, if you like, within the environment that has been producing oil and gas for over 30 years. Wow. So there's a fundamental gap between academia and industry, which has to be resolved. Right. Now, to resolve that, I mean, I could talk about this all day.
Right. See that?
It's about, go on.
Okay, I am saving money as a parent to make sure that my children have the best of education outside this country, because I do not have the trust, I do not have the faith in our educational system here. So my question to you is, how can we upgrade our standards so that at least we can be at par with what is obtainable in the abroad?
So I'll tell you what, to be honest, and for me, I always paint this picture. Now, in my job, I travel a lot. I travel across the continent. I do over 30 countries. Now, if you went to a university like Strathmore University in Nairobi, Kenya, did you know that I was an associate professor on their LLM Masters in Oil and Gas just last semester? And if I told you how much they charged for the master's program, you will be shocked.
How much
Actually, $18,000 US. A university in Africa. That is because they've done a systematic process where what they were offering is almost comparable to what somebody go and do overseas. So now, I'll give you an example. Now, I'm not an academic in that sense, but I'm a practitioner, I'm a professional. Now, on their programs, they've invited industry experts as part of faculty within the programs.
So you get
now,
experience.
so in a sense, if you look at an example is PTI, which they're doing an amazing job. It's Petroleum Training Institute in Port Harcourt. That's because that institute was formed by the collaboration between NNPC and a private organization. Now they've got mutual interest in the quality of the graduates that come out of the universities. Now if you go to every university, there's a massive issue around academia and industry not speaking to each other. And for me, if you look, for example, I was driving through to Ibadan, and as I was driving past, everywhere you go, you notice something very interesting. On each side of the road,
universities.
You see my point, yeah. I was going there. So there's massive universities, and how you know is there's no building, but they always have gates.
Yes.
But it's true. It's massive gates. So for me, it's almost like an unconscious expression of the fact that we're a university, but we are close to outsiders.
You know, when you're talking, I just think, I mean, you're so right, and you're painfully right.
It's annoying, even for me.
Yeah, because, I mean, in my industry, I know my CEO resumed last year, and he from Ireland, and he was asking for certain things. And let me just use something as simple as a set designer, you know, with something we desperately need. But when we build sets because, maybe I started as a carpenter or assistant, I just wanted putting things together, and gradually I went to school and I put it together.
Skill.
But the technicalities of building sets, because there was a set that was built, and I was so excited. I was so happy that, yeah, fantastic design. My CEO trashed it to pieces, that this is crap. It's total, can't you see the colors, can't you see this, and I'm wondering, I didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that, I didn't think about
because we didn't go to school to learn this, we kind of just learned on the job.
That's true.
So industry isn't speaking to the academics.
And
because
vice versa.
I should be able to have a conversation with the university. Listen, I'm looking for professional set designers because in future, I want to build sets, I want to do this in this industry. So I had that's the communication that we need.
Morayo, our educational system is outdated.
Yes, we all
But
know
as a
that.
professional, I did Montessori, and I was trained in the 21st century teaching methods,
Right.
which involved developing the total child, critical thinking skills, leadership skills, even in nursery and primary school. We don't have that in our system. The government schools don't have that. How do we get that?
Here's the challenge that I feel that I would like you to help us address.
Okay.
We have the people, the large population that we see turning into crime, and we see right before our eyes, they are going into using that intelligence and creativity
To do negative
into
things.
negative things.
That's right.
We have the industry that needs people. I am struggling to recruit. Muraya is struggling to get set designer, cameramen, light guys. The industry, we need people to grow. And we're having to look for expatriates to do this for us. Where will the government come in to marry both places? Because the government has no business in business. It's supposed to facilitate
And are you
the
consulting for the
relationship.
government, or are you consulting for the government?
So I'll tell you actually, it's a very good point you raised there. Now, generally, academia says, well, we have knowledge, so come to us. Industry says, well, we have money, so come to us. And government say, we have power, so come to us. And I was saying this at the forum, and then one lady was like, hey, doc, you forgot somebody else. I said, oh, say NGOs. I said, what do they have? So they have rights. I said, okay, I'm sorry. So let's add NGOs, so they have rights. And the point is this. These segments operate in bubbles, okay? And as long as one says to the other, you come to me, well, nothing happens. So, but the point is, for an actual delivery in quality of education, these folks have to speak to each other. And the question is this. Who drives the conversation with these parties talking together? Now, in developed economies, like overseas, where things work, where policy works, the government through policy drives the conversation. Let me give an example. Imagine NUC tomorrow says, as a requirement for promotion in universities, you must, within your research, shows the amount of industry you've engaged to be promoted. What would you think will happen? Okay? If TET Fund, which is the official, if you like, the research agency for funding, put a new criteria saying to apply for research grant as an academic, you must show evidence of which industry you are engaged in before you win the grant. What do you think would happen? So generally speaking, in an ideal situation, policy drives the conversation.
That's the federal government.
Now, I say, but I'm going to come somewhere else now. It's unfortunate that in Africa, most African countries, it's not an ideal situation. And so the question is this, now you have the tendency of saying, it's government's job, let's leave it to them. But the point is this, the segment who understands and appreciates the importance and the benefit of the conversation drives the conversation. So if it's a university, you understand fundamentally, I need to work with industry to better what I do. Don't wait for government, just go ahead and do it. I'll give an example. In every university I go to, I always notice something. They all have bank branches. Okay? So I started investigating, what's going on? Why did they have bank branches? Now, I asked the question, these banks, who wrote to who? Was it a bank to the university to come and set up a branch? And I discovered actually it's always the bank that wrote to the university to come and establish a branch in the university because banks will go, industry will go where there is the money. Now, if you revamp the conversation, I started asking VCs, say, this bank has been in your university for 4 or 5 years. Have you ever had a conversation to say, okay, well, you guys are here, how can we work together? There's no conversation.
Ooh, let's go on a break. All right. Fine. I'm just tired. Let's go on a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So, Jumoke had a question.
So I hear you talking a lot about the tertiary education. I believe, though, that once the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? And I see our environment where a lot of children are out of school because you say, I'm not good in math, I'm not good in science. But the real issue is I really do not understand the language with which you're teaching me these subjects. So maybe that expert botanist is out on the streets because they told him he failed maths in primary school. How do we solve this tertiary problem from the foundation?
That's actually a good point. So I think, first and foremost, you have to understand that in Nigeria, we have a fundamental challenge, which is education demand and supply. So NUC data shows that every year, 1.8 million people apply for JAMB. So these are the folks who are coming from secondary school, doing JAMB to get into universities. Do you know Nigerians' current carrying capacity for higher education? It's about 800,000. So fundamentally, we have a huge crisis around even meeting demand.
1 million.
To start with, okay? Now, so when you kind of push it backwards a bit, now the point is this. You have polytechnics, don't forget that, okay? There is almost like a negative perception around polytechnics. They are no gooders. Oh, wait, he's got an HND, he must be rubbish. So, but the point is this, now, can you fast track or almost qualify the offer of polytechnics as a way to breach the demand in higher education? If you went to a country like Ghana, Ghana have got a model called where you have university colleges who are mentored by big universities, okay? In a sense, that kind of covers for the lack of quality because they have to get to a certain level before they are allowed to actually operate under a charter as a full university. So fundamentally, the issue of demand and supply is a big problem. Now, the point is this. Secondary schools, you move from secondary schools into higher education. Do we have enough counseling, in a sense, to articulate the specialty skills in young people for a good fit into which course they'll actually go and study at the university?
We don't.
Now, I was leaving a career talk, literally just 3 days ago at University of Benin. And I was just telling the students, I was asking a question. These are final year students at the University of Benin. And I asked the question, how many of you are currently in a course that you didn't want to do?
Everybody's not good.
And over 80% hands went up.
Wow.
And I said, how many of you are probably looking forward even to maybe taking another course, maybe afterwards? The hands went up. Then I asked the real question. I said, how many of you have an idea of what you want to do after studies? I'm not kidding you. I nearly fell over.
No
I was in absolute shock when only 5 hands went up in a room with over 300 people.
Wow. Let me pause you for a second.
That's the problem.
So it shows to you that we have a fundamental, I'm not kidding you, it's almost like a crisis, to be honest.
Right.
People don't actually see this.
Let me pause you for a second. Let me take this call from Vera. Vera, are you there?
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for calling. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Go ahead. You're live.
Hello, good morning. My name is Vera.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning, ma. Yeah, I'm a graduate of applied geology. Yeah, I'm a graduate of applied geology.
Okay.
I got to 300 level. I said I'm a graduate of applied geology.
Vera, I can hear the TV from your
Yeah, I found out
background.
in 300 level that my course wasn't accredited. And I found out the course wasn't accredited.
Okay, we have to cut that phone off.
She's
please. Sorry.
listening to the volume from her TV set. Can we not do that next time?
Okay, I wanted to go to the quality of teachers we have in nursery and primary.
Yeah.
Now, for the private schools, I don't really want to go there because, you know, their money is it's expensive, those who can afford it. But for the government schools, the quality of teachers. Now, we want to, this is our foundation. The children are in their formative years in primary school to secondary school. If you miss that foundation, you're going to have a major problem, because what we know today is not really what we're taught in the universities. How do we improve on the quality of teachers that handle that level?
It's a good point. So I think in a sense, you see, we live in a world where there is so much information. Young people spend, I don't know, hours Facebooking and tweeting and Instagramming. That's all good. I've had forums where I've addressed teachers. So because the point is, I'm very wary of always giving blame to government. I'm very weary because actually in my analysis, in what I do, I discovered actually everybody's got a level of blame or the other. That teacher who is teaching that course, doesn't the teacher have an idea of the fact that on some level I'm not competent enough in certain aspects of what I do? Now, are there ways you can develop yourself, okay, within your own control? There are programs, there are free courses available online. Do you actually find that? Now, on a government level, the government is supposed to put in place strategies for human capital development even within our schools. And that can happen in different levels. That can happen through training programs, that can happen through watching the seminars. So, but the point is, you cannot give what you don't have. And so that's the fundamental issue,
Let me take this call from Ire. Ire, are you there? Thanks for calling.
Hello, good morning.
Morning. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sincerely, I want to applaud your guest speaker. And it's so bad that the Nigerian education system is cracked sincerely. Okay, I'm a graduate of microbiology, and on finishing school, I realized that I couldn't even fit into the medical system because I needed a certification in medical lab technology or something like that. And you know, your guest mentioned something that most of us just go to school because we didn't have training on what to do.
Counseling.
After school, what do we do next? We don't have that training. I entered university at a very young age at 16. I finished at 20, served at 21. But then, even till now, I worked for some years in a field where I wasn't needed. But the country just made it like that. I think our educational system needs to be restructured. We need to go back to the basics and check what is wrong, how to fix it, and then we can continue the process.
Thank you very much, Ire. Thank you very much. Because when you talk about counseling, because I remember that when I finished high school, even in the US, I had a private session with a counselor. You are filling questionnaires, they will guide you. And I used to think they are bothering me, stop calling me they'll give me appointments to go and see the counselor because it was a key part of it. But I didn't understand then. But you see, because afterwards I now understand. Even in the university, I said the counselor assigned to me. My job was to consistently carry her along in my decisions as I'm taking courses. She would then guide me based on what. So I see that importance of guidance.
I got counseling in secondary school.
Yes.
We also had course advisors.
Right.
Secondary
in
school.
the university.
Right.
I had
They don't do anything.
They don't do.
We go to them, but what do they do?
They're nothing.
It's
It's expertise.
There are two things. We don't have a culture of excellence as a country. So somebody is employed as a counselor in school. You go and see the counselor in that secondary school, but the person doesn't have that one culture of excellence, so she wouldn't aspire to get retraining even when she knows she isn't doing the right thing. But
And she doesn't even have the expertise.
She doesn't have the expertise. But the major issue I have said on this couch over and over again is lack of vision for the country. If as a country we decide we want to become an engineering powerhouse, that we want to turn our entire manpower into machines, engineers, we want to start producing things, we can entirely upturn the situation in our schools to only focus on producing engineers.
What will happen to people like us that don't want to be engineers?
Listen, it's about exposure. When you realize that there's a job in engineering, everybody files into that place and finds fulfillment in it. But how can we get the government, how can we engage with our leaders to the point where they would create a blueprint for us as a nation, where we will now have an industry the industries we want to create, and then we will feed it through our educational sector.
Addendum, please, quickly. Okay. The leaders you're talking about, their kids don't school here. Let's not forget that.
Right.
They don't school here.
Right.
So now I want to make a few points, because what you said is so true. And this thing is, it's actually bigger than it looks. It's actually a big deal. It's a big issue. Now, don't forget something as well. This fundamental issue is not even just only based in Nigeria. I live in the UK, you see, and I've been holding the largest conference of African and Nigerian students in the UK for the last 10 years under my NGO. When I ask even Nigerians who go to the UK the exact same question, do you know what you want to do? After spending all that money to come and do your master's after studies, most of them don't still know. Now the problem is this. So there's a problem around the availability of counseling and the drive to receive counseling. Nigerians are very conservative when it comes to, they are very good when it comes to being very loud, but when it comes to actually addressing things that are important to them, they're quite reserved. And so most UK universities will tell me, actually, Akan, we open these forums for them to come and have a chat. They never show up. Now that's one thing. On another level, so the point is this. The government has to drive this conversation, because when the government is able to drive academia to have a conversation with industry, things will begin to work. And people will ask you, are you really sure they want to work with each other? For me, a simple test is this. When you meet a professor believes he has arrived the height of his career when he becomes a consultant to industry. So on some level, subliminally, he wants industry. If you flip it over, a CEO of a company feels honored, in a sense, when he's offered a honorary doctorate degree. He won't sleep that night. So on some level, these guys want to work to each other. But the point is this, there are no models to drive a conversation. An example is this. In the UK, okay, many universities understand this. In the Department of Environment at Lancaster University in the UK, there are 23 environmental companies resident in the Department of Environment. Now, the premise is this. There is no way a CEO of a company and a professor will enter the same lift every day that they won't turn to each other and say, well, dude, what do you even do? And so by co-locating them, you force a conversation. So there are simple models of getting guys to actually talk. Now, I'll give you an example. Have you seen the gates of Nigerian universities? It's like telling everybody, don't come near. So even the premise in the first place is even wrong. The guys you're trying to get your graduates to actually go and work for, the guys you're trying to actually get your graduates to develop the capacity to actually work or to employability to work for, you're not actually engaging with them on any level. So we've got a fundamental issue that I think policy can drive. And if policy cannot drive it, individuals should drive it.
Policy. When we come back, we'll talk to our audience and try to see if we can find a solution to this problem. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Your View.
So we're at the last leg of this conversation, but let's go to the audience very quickly to hear if we have any questions or comments. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I think...
Our first time. You're the only first time I hear. Please give him a round of applause. Welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, I think it boils down to parenting while the child is growing up. I think there should be a filial conversation between the child and the parents while growing up, so that you give the child the sense of belonging and ask the child what is he going to do when he grows up. Then you support the child instead of diverting his attention to something else. And
thank you very much for that. So do you think parenting actually should provide that angle for the guidance and counseling that we need? It should be a parenting factor, not a school factor.
Oh, absolutely. It has to be a combination of both. You can't do it in isolation, because obviously the child is at home, child is at school. Generally speaking, most secondary schools would have like parenting associations and bodies. But the point is, what actually do they do in those associations? Is it Owambe? Is it
let me take another question from the audience. Please go ahead.
Okay. So far, I've noticed something. There is an adage that says when the desire becomes unavailable, the available becomes desirable. Mostly when people have finished BSc, let's say I have BSc microbiology. When you realize you've done BSc for 4 years without any industrial, aside from IT, without concrete experience, you tend to divert your course totally to something else that is available in the economy, where you know you can drive better.
Like makeup.
So that is another major problem that is happening.
Okay, I asked the question about foundation. I didn't really get an answer. I guess your expertise is in tertiary education.
Yes, secondary to higher education.
I understand. Because why I was asking about foundation, the reason we have problem in tertiary education is because we have problem in primary education.
Yes.
Honestly.
Yes.
And I even think our education is foreign. From the onset, and once the colonialists left, they now abandoned us confused. So how do we even do with this Oyibo education self? Why do I say that? Before they came, we had different ethnic groups and different languages, but we found a way to communicate. A trader would send their generation into trading. How did they teach them their trade over and over? So we have not generated. So we have foreign technology. We don't know how to do anything about it.
And
we have bridges. We have to bring the Germans to come and repair. We have railway. We need the Chinese to manage it. Even tiling. We have to go to our West African brothers in Togo to get it. So if the education is foreign, do we need to just break it down to what we know? Our grandparents were able to send goldsmithing and trading and fashion designing and lali and everything down their generations.
So I think in a sense, you're very correct. See, the point is this. Every developed economy, we've got two levels of education. It's a tertiary education, higher education, further education, but it's also vocational education, okay? In Nigeria, in most African countries, we are almost at infancy, at zero level vocational education. That bricklayer, that mechanic, in a sense, okay, who has learned the trade because his father passed the knowledge on to him. What are the systems in place to actually professionalize those vocational education? In the UK, if I invite a plumber to come to my house, I'm literally telling the guy to hurry up because he's charging me some ridiculous amount of money every hour. That's because it's been professionalized. And so we have to focus around policies to make, so there are different levels of doing that. Now, first and foremost, which current colleges, do we have vocational colleges and institutes? Yes, we do. Okay? Yes. Polytechnics almost in some level cater for that provision because of the technical nature of polytechnics. See, but ultimately, even polytechnics have been bastardized as not being able to deliver the job in comparison. But you don't have to be in competition. I'm a vocational person. I don't have to be, I have a PhD. I'm good at what I do. And so there has to be a pride and dignity in labor.
They say it's an African problem, that there's no rich African country. There is no successful big-time African country except Wakanda. So the challenge now is that, have you consulted for any African country that has implemented a policy that has seen a change positively in the educational sector so that we can debunk that mindset that Africans are just black people, they don't know how to do things better?
Well, South Africa. Okay. My goodness, do you know South Africa even have? No, how do you understand that a country's education is well internationalized? A simple way of knowing this: if you went to Lancaster in the UK, whatever it is, they boast by saying we've got students from 50, 70 other international countries.
Yes.
That's a good level. Not only in students, but even in the faculty. We've employed staff from 25 countries. Now, to show you it's actually possible. Now, Lancaster, sorry, I'm using Lancaster, for example, because I live in Lancaster, and in a sense, it's kind of getting the balance, right? Lancaster has a campus in Ghana. Not UK now, a campus in Ghana. Now, I asked the director in Ghana, I said, in your Ghana campus, how many indigenes or nationals do you have in the Ghana campus? I was in shock when he told me that they got students from over 17 African countries.
In Ghana?
In Ghana.
Wow.
So my point is this. Now why is that the case? There has to be an intent, a strategic analysis of actually trying to internationalize. It has to be driven by strategy. So it's okay to keep blaming government, but trust me, it's not all about government.
Okay, so I wanted to quickly say that young people have given up on education right now because they see the people who did not go to school make so much wealth, have money. You know, they are good in their businesses and they are the rich ones. They employ the graduates, the ones that have gotten the PhD and all of that. So everybody wants now to focus on what do I have that can make me wealthy.
Music.
Now, so I wanted to ask, is education wired to make us wealthy?
No, actually it's not. Education is wired to make you competent, to make you happy. Education is wired to make you successful. And successful, the measure of success, for me, is not about wealth. It's about impact. Can you deliver impact in your economy? And that lady made a very good point. When you talk about...
I'm going to go to her.
I want to address that point. Now, you did microbiology, okay? And the point is this. I did zoology for my first degree. I didn't do a fancy course. I wanted to do medicine. My jam no gree. Okay? For my WAEC, I had 9 A's, but when it came to JAM, I had my first JAM, I had 204. You can't have 204 and go to do medicine. So that's fine. When I get to university, my second year, I'll do JAM again. I did JAM again. You know how much I had? 205. So someone said, well, at least I had one more than the former one. But the point is this. It was in my second year during zoology, I discovered the niche. So sometimes it's about understanding what the niche might be for you within your area. So I'll give an example. I discovered that actually I can be a zoologist but specialize in environmental management, which is now the in thing. So what I do is around sustainability, but I read zoology. And so most graduates who kind of leave their course and suddenly thinking, okay, if I don't work as a microbiologist in a pharmaceutical company, then I'm done for. That is because it comes down to the critically telling people the diverse areas of career with options within their course. And every course has that.
You see, I've gotten so much information from you, and I'm so happy that you haven't spoken so much about government, which I'm excited because the solution is within.
It's actually with the individual.
Universities having innovative ideas.
Absolutely.
And what they can do to engage the industries.
Absolutely.
For example, now people are graduating, doing beads, doing makeup, doing hair.
There's no university doing that.
So,
Can you imagine?
So if somebody, imagine a VC thinking, there are a lot of young people doing music. What
Yes.
can I do? How do I provide a course to professionalize these bead makers such that they can actually export this bead?
That's a really good point you made. And for me, the way to describe it is this, okay? And it's a shame. The biggest challenge we have, for me, is funding. Because over 80% of our universities depend on government for money. Right. Government is just one person. You cannot do everything. Now, so we live in an unideal situation. And so the vice chancellor of a university should see him or herself, if you like, as the CEO. Now imagine this. Uniben has 50,000 students. I don't know how many students they have, 45,000 students. Now, when I ask a question and say, okay, well, if 45,000 students, say, I don't know, 10,000 staff members, that means in context, the VC of a university is a CEO of a company with 10,000 staff. Right. Imagine in real life an industry of a CEO. Do you know the power that CEO has? The power to be able to innovate and generate funding to self-sustain yourself.
It's almost impossible to conclude this conversation. I mean, we need a part 2 at some point because we even need you to help consult for universities within, because you're already consulting for
our Minister of Education again.
Do you know his name?
Have you met him?
Minister of Education.
Met him?
No, I've not met him now.
No, you have to meet him.
All right, that's all we can take on the show today. I hope you learned a lot as we have. Have a fabulous day. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Thank you very much.